Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Decibels Music Film Festival. It's great to see you here in this kind of virtual world of ours. Life's still a bit weird, and with it, we've brought a lot of great eclectic films from around the world for you to see. You've just had the opportunity to see a really great film. I'm An Electric Lampshade, and we're lucky enough to have some of the team here. We have director John Clayton Doyle. Thanks for being here, John.
Of course, thank you for having me.
And we have the star of the show, Doug McCorkle. Thanks for being here, Doug.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Nice to be here.
So, maybe a good place to kind of start out is like, what was the kind of genesis of deciding that this was kind of going to be a tale that you were going to tell as a film? And with it, maybe you can give us a little bit of an idea of where the line blurs between the kind of documentary and fiction and the approach that you guys took.
Sure. So I'll take the first one, and since John is the writer and director of the film, I'll let him take the second part of the question. So the first part, the whole genesis of this was John and I started working together on a unrelated music video back in 2014. It was a music video that I had conjured up as an idea to do as a retirement gift of sorts for a supervisor of mine who was retiring. I didn't really want to give a boring speech at his retirement party. I wanted to do something that was completely out of bounds. And so, and I had never sung before, I'd never danced before, but John came on board because we were seeking a choreographer, and John auditioned for it, and we loved him. And so he was the guy. The music video was this huge success, got a standing ovation, much to my surprise, and I caught the bug. And so John and I continued working together. Afterward, I asked him if I could continue working with him, and he said yes. But of course, the first question he asked was, well, what are we going to do? And I wasn't really sure, and he had the idea to do a short film. Well, organically, over a period of about 4.5 years, that short film grew into the feature-length documentary hybrid film that we have today called An Electric Lampshade. It became a fantastical project, one that completely blew my mind, took me completely out of my comfort zone, and was an amazing adventure. And I just, I'm very happy with the way it all turned out. John, do you want to answer the question about where the blurred lines are in the film?
Yeah, so this is a true story. This is Doug's story. This is based on his life and his relationship with his wife, Gina. And there are quite a few moments where Doug and Gina, who are non-actors, are acting out scenes from their real life. So there are recreations of events that took place. And I think where the film detours really into the hybrid area is when we are going into the internal kind of experiences of Doug as he comes out of this accountant world where measuring success and measuring accuracy and failure is really easy to quantify. And as he goes into the artist world, that doesn't exist anymore. And there's all sorts of anxieties that come along with that, and a lot of questions about when you put yourself out there, what's going to happen when people respond? Are they going to like me? Are they not going to like me? Have I made a mistake by going public with this? And at the end of the film, we see this concert that was kind of a fantasy that's hinted at in the beginning of the movie. So whether the viewer wants to see this concert as a real pop concert, or whether they want to see it as something that's a fantasy that Doug's happening, Doug really did that. He really got up on stage in front of all those people, and he did all of those performances. So in that sense, it's very real.
And, as you guys were kind of deciding to go down this rabbit hole, how did you decide that you were going to kind of approach the story visually? Because I mean, I think Doug, you kind of mentioned this kind of there's this fantastical element to it, and I think that's from the kind of the style of the film to the story that's told on screen to, hey, I mean, even the title of the film, um,
Sure.
what at what point in time did you know that it wasn't just going to be this kind of straightforward tale, that there were going to be these other elements to kind of um, help tell the story? So how did you kind of approach kind of telling
So
this narrative?
yeah, so as with a straight documentary, you are filming in pieces over a period of time so that the story can be told. It's not one continuous 2 or 3 month shoot. But I've always wanted to be a director. My background, I've directed theater, I've choreographed and directed in dance, but my dream has always been to be a music video director. So even when this film was going to be a short film, we did imagine that there would be kind of these music video sequences that would be tied together with some sort of interstitial that brings them together. But the vision had always been from the beginning the idea of these isolated music videos that show Doug in different personas.
Yeah, and Chris, to expand on that, I mean, John, the very artistic and visual creativity that the film portrays is a combination of John's creative genius in thinking of these sequences, and also in just the skilled director of photography, Soren Nielsen, that we had, the skilled editing that was done by Rachel Webster and the team. And we had so much beautiful footage that there were just so many choices that we could use in the film. But I think the way that it came out displays some of the straightforward documentary that John talks about, but also displays this area that kind of takes you into Doug's head, and the way that's portrayed, and the way that some of the elements of Doug and Gina's relationship, and Gina, my wife's struggle with mental illness, which is real in true life. The way that's portrayed in the film is just a beautiful portrayal of creative filmmaking.
When someone is struggling with mental illness, you can't put a camera in their face. I mean, that is really when people go deep into depression or are experiencing mania, that's not an appropriate time, especially in terms of Gina. She did not sign up to be the star of the movie. She just kind of had the option to participate or not, and was a trooper. So a lot of the scenes that depict sort of it's a depiction of struggle with mental health. It is a recreation. It is a representation of what that experience might be like for one person.
Yeah, I think there's a really cool kind of poetic zest to the film. Doug, as you kind of started to kind of tiptoe into making the film, as like the short film first, was there at any point in time where you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, I'd say that probably happened about once a month. But certainly as we were approaching the live concert, which took a full year of training for me, working with dance coaches, a performance coach, my vocal coach at the time, Marlon Saunders. I mean, it just took a lot of work. It was a crash course in learning to be a performer, something that I know now most performers perfect over a number of years. And so especially as we approached that portion of the filming, which was the last major piece that we shot, there was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of questioning about whether or not I was going to be able to pull this off. Thankfully, I had very great supportive coaches, and John, who just said, come on, keep going, and my wife Gina, who who, you know, pulled me back from the edge a few times and said, come on, you can do this. You've worked this hard, keep going. So the support team really kept me working for it. And I knew that we were in a long ways, and to turn back now would be a huge mistake.
And John, as a filmmaker, I mean, this is kind of a very unique relationship to have, in the sense of kind of this kind of collaborative subject, in the sense of like, at what point in time did you like, how do you think the kind of collaboration worked? And was there a point in time where it's just like, you were kind of responsible for the kind of the vision for the film, and then you would let Doug know what was needed? Or at what point in time, like, did even Doug see a cut of the film, in the sense like, was that pretty far along, or were you guys kind of collaborating in the editing room? How did that all work out together?
Yeah, the editing process was very collaborative, and we began in 2017 when we came back from the Philippines. As well, we did a lot of shooting at Doug and Gina's home in 2017. We had accumulated quite a bit of footage. So even though we hadn't finished telling the story, we did engage our editor, Rachel Webster, about halfway through the filming process, just to sort of see what this footage was, how this footage was talking to us. But in terms of the dynamic between Doug and I, Doug served as the muse, as well as the patron. And I often likened this experience to Doug hiring a painter to paint a portrait of him as he turned 60 or 62. And you can choose any number of painters. They're all going to have a different vantage point and a different aesthetic style, but Doug chose me. So my eclectic kind of style that really likes to pull together a mosaic of different people who are the supporting characters around Doug is part of my style that I brought to the table in terms of kind of presenting a portrait of Doug. And we did have a final shoot where we revealed kind of the whole film to, or at least the concert sequence, to Doug and Gina as a reveal. And that was kind of our final moment of the unveiling of the portrait, but Doug was involved in the editing process and seeing cuts along the way.
Very nice. So it's just a really interesting and fun film, and was glad to kind of stumble upon it in our submission. So thanks again for not only submitting it, but like us now getting a chance to share it with the festival. As we kind of wrap up things, I mean, what do you, now with the film finished, where do you see things going, in the sense that, like, is it this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy? Will like the film encourage you to kind of, when things return to normal, Doug, like want to hit the road and perform? Or are there other kind of music video collaborations that you all are considering?
Excellent question, Chris. So the short answer is I'm not sure yet. The film, as you mentioned, is on its film festival run. It's playing a number of film festivals internationally. So that's taking a lot of time to just support that whole effort. And then our principal goal after that is to try to secure distribution for the film in some shape or form. After that, we'll see what discoveries are next, whether it's going on and doing more performing, whether it's a new adventure. I will say that just achieving this and doing this amazing project with John is certainly a confidence booster. And as I say in the film, age is not the limitation you think it is now. Now that I'm retired, now's the time to explore new adventures and see what comes next. So kind of we'll see what happens.
Certainly something that I aspire to for the next step is to kind of accumulate all the original music of the film and have a Doug album, because there's tracks that don't appear in the film. There's lots of beautiful score that Cody Ferreira created. And the fact that we were successful in creating so much original music for this film certainly surpassed my expectations in terms of where we started, thinking that Doug would just be doing a couple covers. So the fact that we went on this journey to discover Doug's voice, what that sounded like, how we wrote songs collaboratively, it's something that I think would be fun to put out there as well as the film.
That'd be neat. So for those in the audience, what's the best way to kind of continue to follow the path and progress of the film, and also, kind of help spread the word?
Yeah, so there's two ways that we currently have. One is there is an Instagram site for Electric Lampshade, and also there is a website for the film, which is I'mAnElectricLampshade.com. Those are really the two best ways to keep track of the film, follow us, and yeah, keep posted on what's happening.
Very cool. Well, thanks again for joining us, Doug and John, and then thanks again for sharing the film with San Francisco.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you.
My pleasure.